Hey, what's going on, guys? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking us out. I'm on very little sleep. That Cats game went late last night. This time for South Florida, I just want to say off the bat, has just been absolutely incredible. Just from the vibes in the city to every single night now, there's a Eastern Conference Finals game for the foreseeable future, and the Cats played more than two of them last night and really won that game twice. Just unbelievable, and I am so sleepy. You know, I'm trying to get my ass in gear. I got the Cafe Bustelo. Ooh, trying to rev up the engine. Be doing the Tobin and Leroy show from the garage today, but it is what a time, man. It's been incredible to see what's going on, and I love the support that's going on between both teams for each other. You know, yesterday, I don't know if you guys saw this, as we're on we are hours away from Game 2 between the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics, but Jimmy Butler, who does his typical workouts, did it in a Matthew Tkachuk jersey, which I thought was really cool for a couple of reasons. One, you got best player with best player, so that's really cool. It'd be like if Matthew Tkachuk, who I know that they wore Heat gear on the way to Raleigh, but it's like if Tkachuk wears a Jimmy Butler jersey to the game now. That's a pretty cool crossover over the two teams and what's going on right now. Because it's not like Jimmy was going to the arena, puts it on social media. He's shooting shots in a Panthers sweater, so that's a really cool thing that was going on there. And then Matthew Tkachuk actually, kind of gave him the acknowledgement on social media, which I also like because, as you would know, because there's nonstop Jayson Tatum coverage, Matthew Tkachuk and Jayson Tatum went to school together. They went to grade school together. So I like the fact that Jimmy's swooping in there for that alliance during this series. So the Miami Heat are going into tonight, and I'm sure, Eric Spoelstra referred to this the last time around when they were going to take on the Milwaukee Bucks. He said that the Miami Heat are going to face a hurricane, that's going to be what's coming their way. And I would expect a similar shot from Boston tonight. I would expect that the Boston Celtics are going to come in bombs away, that they are going to try and let it rain threes like crazy and let the chips fall where they may. I think that you're going to see them try and get up a lot of shots. Miami was really able to limit their shot attempts. Part of that was because they were having a lot of success early on in the paint, and then things just got really mucked up there in the second half, and Miami outshot them. Now, that's not to say the Miami Heat can't go out there and win, because, look, you never know when these guys are going to have a rough shooting night. Just because you put up a lot of threes doesn't mean you're going to make a lot of threes. But, just typically in the roller coaster that is the playoffs, especially for a home team desperate, knowing if you go down 0-2 and you lose the first two on your own floor, that's a hell of a hike. You got to then go to Miami, where you've won before last year, but Miami's had a lot of success this year. So I do expect them to bring up a haymaker, but that doesn't mean the Miami Heat can't get greedy. It doesn't, and they don't have that mindset. The last time that they did face this against Milwaukee, there was a couple of weird things. One, Giannis wasn't playing in that game, so I think you inevitably knew that the guard was going to be down, and there was really going to be only one way Milwaukee was going to play, which was just bomb it, because they don't have their guy. They don't have their guy who's going to be right there. It's not necessarily the case with Boston. They're going to have their guys out there. The difference is that Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, they're shooters. I mean, they can pull up and they can get really hot from downtown. Whereas if Giannis takes a three, you're basically praying to the sky like, yes, thank you, awesome. So the other thing I would say is, I wonder if there is any pressure that is going to get to Boston, because they have been taking a lot of heat in their own town. No pun intended. They've been taking a lot of criticism. Whereas I don't think the Milwaukee media really ever took the game one the Heat took seriously. I do think there is an element, and I'm the first guy to complain about lack of credit that the Miami Heat have been getting, but there certainly was a ton of it, and I do think that there has been more recognition finally. Like, well, how many times do they have to do this before everybody kind of wakes up? And I don't think Boston can take this lightly and just think, oh, eventually they're going to not shoot. Eventually, Jimmy Butler's not going to have a crazy game, because a couple of the things that I liked about Jimmy was not only obviously his activity defensively, and he was a monster, but man, we saw that jump shot come back, and that wasn't there in the Knicks series because he was basically laboring through this with one leg, and getting that time off, I just think that he looks like a new man. The interesting thing is going to be now it's every other day. There's not that giant amount of rest. How does he look with just a day recovery? But it was night and day in that game one on how he looked. The other big thing that the Heat have to account for is Bam Adebayo, because this guy has just been on a tear since he called himself out. Really, he's been on a tear since the end of the Bucks series when he finished with a triple-double, but I think the idea of, a lot of people gave Bam when he called out himself, and they're like, oh, we've heard this speech 1,000 times. And I took issue with that because I know we had heard Bam do the whole be aggressive thing. We have heard that 100 times. But when Bam lost that game 2 to New York, it wasn't, I got to be more aggressive. No Jimmy Butler. They had a chance to win, and he took it on. It really wasn't even a loss on offense for him. It was a loss on rebounding and effort. And the switch that I think, have seen from that point to now has been really, really great. And Bam spoke about some of the adversity that the team has been facing and what it's built for this team.
Everybody counting us out from the beginning was kind of builds that chip, but also the adversity we've been through this whole season, the ups and downs, the games we should have won but didn't win, going to the locker room, trying to figure it out, rewrite whatever we did wrong, and going through that put us in this position. Now I feel like we're one of the best, like you said, one of the best teams in the league just because adversity built this. We all looked each other in the face and said, this is the second playing game, this is our last run. This is it. And from there, man, I just felt like everybody just bought into that will. And, I feel like we just been willing wins.
There you go. Bam. Really willing a lot. And over his last 5 playoff games since he's called himself out, he's been averaging over 20 points and 10 rebounds just in, his counting stats. But, has had he did everything in that last game, from the early scoring to the rebounding to the assist that he had out there, even though Kyle Lowry disagrees with the idea that he's a phenomenal passer. He, I think, has just stepped up in a huge, huge way. And the thing that I really like seeing when he can is, he's getting to the free throw line about 5 times a game, which is, I think doable, because Jimmy's going to get the majority of those calls. He's going to have the ball in his hands. But I think for Bam, if he can get there a handful of times a game and make that difference, especially, just aggressive and ones, getting bigs in foul trouble, so hard to corral, man. And I just love the mentality that he went at that last game with. We've definitely seen more confidence in that jump shot, but I think that we haven't seen him settle. I don't think Bam Adebayo has gone to these games settling for that mid-range game. He has really taken a lot of these games by force. And I think one of the things that has to go off as a light bulb to these people, Jaylen Brown, I talked about this. Jaylen Brown didn't even mention him in his thoughts on the Miami Heat, which I don't think is on its face just a dig, but I think it perked up Heat fans and had them notice a little bit like, that's something. So it's been the Jimmy show. Like, don't get me wrong, like Jimmy and I think the thing is like the story with the Heat, and nobody really knows how to talk about it nationally, is it's Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy, understandably so. Then everybody's just baffled by, hey, look at all these undrafted guys. And then it's like, oh, hey, Kyle Lowry, we know him. So it's almost like Bam goes under the radar on the list of a team that's already under the radar. But the guy is an all defensive player. The guy is a multiple-time All-Star. And if he can be, the third best player in this series. Now, the Heat had the top 2 guys the last game. Bam and Jimmy were the best 2 guys. But if it can go in the order of Jimmy, Jayson Bam or Jimmy Jalen Bam, if he could go blow for blow with them, he is, the Heat are going to have, I think, a pretty good time in this series. I really do. So, look, it's like Kevin Love said, the Miami Heat, they did what they needed to do in the locker room. Task at hand, as we've been saying on the show. But I'm very excited to see if they can get greedy here with Game 2 coming up in Boston tonight. It's been a whirlwind. Cats, quadruple overtime winners. Heat winning Game 1. It's been nothing but goosies galore here in old South Florida sports land.